Thank you, Gayatri. I think that was both very comprehensive and cogent. It was fantastic. We're obviously going to build on whatever you played out here in your address and see what the opinions of the experts are in their particular domain areas. Uh, Three things which struck me there. One is participation of women, and the team is now ranked 56th in the world. And I seriously, and you gave the example of girls remaining in school if they're playing a sport or playing football. I think that's very crucial to understand in the Indian context, because I can't think of India becoming a sporting nation if you keep 50% of the population out of sports. And we've not been very, girl friendly in terms of sports for societal reasons, for reasons, various other reasons. So I think that's an area that we really need to look into. But let's move on to our, let's proceed with the day's agenda. So the Youth Connect, which is critical to take football pan-India, is going to be, is obviously a major thrust area. And the starting point again is the Under-17 World Cup, which by all accounts, by consensus, was a resounding success. So how do we leverage that? How do we strengthen the base? Gayatri spoke about it, the participation, expanding the base, which is obviously at the crux. What next on the mission to take football pan-India? How is it going to happen? What are the processes? What is the protocol? What are the building blocks? And the government's role in expanding or building the football ecosystem, because really it needs to be built up. Without the ecosystem maturing, you will just have strands of excellence happening, but not a sustained progress. Let's listen about these, about where India can go, from somebody who's been integral to the Under-17 World Cup, which was played out here not too long back. Javier Ceppi, Tournament Director, Local Organizing Committee of the Under-17 FIFA World Cup. He obviously needs no introduction because he's the man who brought the first ever FIFA tournament to the country. He was at the center of it all and will reflect on the journey and what India needs to do to take the next step up. Javier, all yours.
Good morning, everybody. I'll promise I'll be brief because then we have a panel discussion and a panel session. When Thomas rang me up and told me, well, you need to prepare something for the conference, like a lot of the data that I have, unfortunately, is still unverified and confidential. So before putting in data that it's not verified, I just tried to sift through what data we could put and how does this all make sense going forward. It was 21st of May 2015, and may I correct, actually the change for football didn't start in 2014, it started in 2013. It was December 5th when we actually got the FIFA Under-17 World Cup into the country. That was a catalyst for a lot of change that has happened for football in India. And I think we would all, or almost everybody would agree on that. And on 21st of May 2015, where we were already almost 1 year into the job, FIFA Chief Competitions and Events Officer Colin Smith came to India, and we did a very similar presentation. By then, we knew what we wanted to do. These were the objectives of the World Cup. More than 23 days of event. One was raising the standards. What we saw on different leagues, on different events that were happening in India, being football or non-football, was not enough for us, was not of an international or world standard, and we needed to change that. The second was to woo the billion, and that's the most important part, and we really did a concerted effort to make that. First, on raising standards. Infrastructure. It's the most visible part of it. 6 stadiums, 32 renovated training sites. I keep telling the same story. I went to an orbit place in Kochi, Bailey Ground. I was with Joy. Probably most of you also know Joy. We were with a measuring tape. We measured. A couple of days later, they found a python. Took them 4 hours to take the python out of the ground. Not joking. that was the state of a lot of facilities and grounds that now you see as World Cup training sites. And why I concentrate on the training sites and not so much on the stadium? Because it is actually on the training sites, on those 32 new grounds, where things are going to happen. Stadium is used once every 2 weeks, or once a week now with Salt Lake and some other stadiums. A training ground is used every single day for community, for schools, for small leagues. Although it wasn't part of the requirement, we made it a requirement that they had to build 2 dressing rooms. Why? Why we made it a requirement that they had to build 2 dressing rooms? What happens when you have 2 dressing rooms? You can have 2 teams playing. You can have a match. You can have a competitive match. So that, from very, very small things, we applied those requirements and we adjusted those requirements into the Indian reality and what we could do. We also tried to change the focus on athlete-friendly facilities. Athlete-friendly and fan-friendly, not VIP-friendly. When I first started going to the stadiums in this country, it blew my mind how VIPs were the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh priority, and the athletes were changing in, pardon my French, a piece of dump. You cannot have a sustainable tournament event mistreating the athletes. If we all have a job here, it's because there are 22 guys over there and 3 referees, or 4, or now 5 with VAR. That was our first focus. So on our stadium inspections and on everything, we spent 4 hours looking at the dressing rooms, measuring how much would it be for an ice bath. Where are the water lines so that they can have a pipe to wash their football boots? How is the light? How come you have AC on the changing area, but you don't have AC on the washing area or on the wet zone? Because a player comes out of the wet zone, it's wet, goes into AC. If it's not AC, gets sick. First and foremost, you have to respect the athlete. The athlete is the star. Second, human capacity building. When we started our volunteer selection, we had almost 30,000 volunteers, and we had a concerted approach where we had 10,000 on the first day, and we stopped promoting it completely. We didn't have the human resources on the LOC, and you would laugh at the budget that we had, minuscule. We didn't have the human resources on the LOC to process that many applications. We could have gone to 200,000. We just stopped promoting it within 12 hours because we had 10,000 applications. Eventually, we got to 30,000 without any promotion throughout the... And we have that data. And we know that they're all football fans. And from that, 1,500 were volunteers and really learned how to develop and how to make a proper football tournament. Plus 317 people that if the World Cup happens tomorrow, they can do it, easily do it. I'm not staying in India. I'm not required. I'm seriously not required. I was the only foreigner in the organization. Unfortunately, I had the experience of delivering a World Cup before, and that's why I was brought, because of that experience and because of a lot of documentation that I had. Nothing more than that. 317 people that can just go and tomorrow do a World Cup. And that wealth of knowledge is now expanding into ISL franchises, into I-League teams, into youth grassroots development, into government organizations, into very different things. The most important thing, though, we spoke on the prior presentation, it was spoken about the corporates. I would say more important than the corporates, much more important than the corporates, is government. In India, you cannot get anything done without proper government support. Central government and state government. When we When I was hired and I came 2014 November, first visit to the States, I said, it's not going to be possible. We're not going to be able to deliver the World Cup. They had no idea. Zero clue. Somebody asked me if 2 India teams could play. India A, India B. Some other one asked me, well, can we play the 52 matches here on a training ground? Yeah. But that capability of state governments was built. We didn't work too much with the state associations. We worked with the state governments. We worked with the chief ministers, with the Department of Sports, with the PWDs, with the Department of Education, with the Ministry of HRD. Critical stakeholders if you want to build a sport. And the fact that Prime Minister Modi is interested in football is not something that came out of the blue. We were speaking to Prime Minister office for 3 years, telling him, football is taking over the country. Football will become the most important sport in the country within the next 15 to 20 years. It is a fact. It's going to happen. So either you guys get on the bandwagon now, or it's going to become too late. He came for the inauguration of the event. The fact that it was an operational nightmare is a completely different ballgame altogether, but it's a statement. When the prime minister of a 1.3 billion country comes for the inauguration, he usually doesn't go to too many sports events, comes for the inauguration of a Youth World Cup, it's because football is a strategic sport for Government of India, more than any other sport. Why? I'll show you some data. Third, technical expertise. I saw the video of Kochi. I hate it. I despise that video of Kochi. I'm very sorry. You cannot have 60,000 people in the Jawaharlal Nehru International Stadium of Kalur. You cannot. It's criminal. People are going to die. The stadium is not suited for that. We were very strict. We made safe capacity evaluations of all of our stadiums because we are extremely responsible and because people who are doing events here in India need to be that responsible. Once a tragedy happens, everybody's going to wake up. We were criticized. How can you downsize J&I Stadium to 29,748 people? Well, that's its capacity. It's not 60,000. On that video, you didn't see any aisles. What happens if there's a fire? How are they going to escape? You saw people on the third tier. No people should ever be on the third tier in that stadium. How are they going to escape? If it collapses, what's going to happen? We didn't compromise on that. And that is showing respect to your audience and to your people and to your fans. Because one of our objectives that is not mentioned here when I came was 0 casualties. And I'm dead serious. 0 casualties from the tournament. We didn't have any casualties on the tournament. And it's a miracle that no casualties have happened on that stadium. We pushed for bucket seats. We did the safe capacity evaluation. And that data is there with all the authorities. They have an understanding of how to give NOCs. They have understanding of fire compliance, of safety structural compliance. Second thing that we did, and this I'm particularly proud, never in India we have had safety stewards for an event. When you see English Premier League, you don't see police. Never. You see people on like fluorescent bibs. Never in India had happened. When we started going to police, they told us, hey, what do you want stewards? People that clean dishes. That's a steward. No, these are safety, especially safety. Unfortunately, we trained about 2,000 people into safety standards at the stadium, and I have to say that I'm very happy to know that at least in Kolkata, for the I-League matches, they're being used. For the Derby, I've been to the Derby. It's the single best match in Indian football by far and beyond. Far and beyond. You cannot replicate passion like that. You cannot fabricate passion like that. And they are now using the safety stewards. Where it used to be a madhouse, used to be the jungle, now it's very ordered. Now people are actually want to go to the stadium. So you have to make people go to the stadium. Third, pitches. We train more than 80 groundskeepers in the country to have good pitches. We all know about the Salman Khan concert in Delhi at the JLN Stadium. The JLN Stadium sustained because we had trained manpower, because we invested 6 months at least or 7 months at least into strengthening the ground. That's what's going to happen on other grounds. We're talking about grounds. I'm going to sift through this. This is before and after. There are very impressive photos in each of the venues. These used to be changing rooms. In the Indira Gandhi Athletics International Stadium in Sarusajai, Guwahati. How you can treat, you can regard so lowly an athlete? How? Training sites, the most beautiful contribution of the World Cup in terms of infrastructure. Salt Lake Stadium, completely different stadium altogether. Couple of things here, and I can shout, that's okay. We talk about safety and security. This stadium that had 120,000 people, and people are very proud of that, no evacuation towards the field. What happens if there's a fire there? People are going to crash. We made them do, after 2 years of convincing, evacuation towards the field. 37 doors, 37 gates of 2 meters. You have to improve all the standards. Very important. Training site, Navi Mumbai, Delhi. This used to be the long ball grounds for Commonwealth Games. They hadn't been used since Commonwealth Games. They were rotting. Was converted into now the grounds that you guys use. DDFC uses. Won the billion. Very important. It was a mission statement. Football takes over. Slogan of the tournament, but also a mission statement. That football was going to be part and the core of our tournament. Our event promotion, everything was all about football. Nothing else. No razzmatazz. Just football. We managed to bring 8 FIFA legends into the country. That was fantastic. We took very simple things. We launched our tickets at 11 hours on a 16th of May. Why 1911? I think it's on the slide. No. Why 1911? Very simple. It costs you nothing. The amount of goodwill we got. 1911, honoring Mohun Bagan. First time an Indian team beat a British team. Mohun Bagan versus East Yorkshire Regiment. 2-1 in the Maidans in Kolkata. We recognized the former greats of India in football on the inauguration. Wasn't ceremony, but it was all about football, and we gave footballs also to the 11 million kids. We took also a conscious decision to stay away from Bollywood. Very conscious decision, and I'll tell you why. We always thought and perceived that the real heroes and the true core for a football fan is football. You will not get them interested if you have some Bollywood star dancing and prancing. You may get them in to watch, but you will not get them interested if your product is bad. If your product is good and you focus on football, it's going to happen. I got very pissed off when we had a Bollywood star once, and we had Carles Puyol, a World Cup winner, one of the best football defenders of all time. And the Bollywood star expected Carles Puyol to go and say hi, and he got pissed because Carles Puyol didn't go and say hi. Owner of a team, by the way. What is that? I got extremely pissed. And then I immediately said, and I gave clear instructions, we're not having anybody else from Bollywood in any of our events. I don't care. Draw, nobody from Bollywood was there. Esteban Cambiaso and Nuanco Canu was there. Inauguration ceremony, Prime Minister of the country, 11 former footballers, 11 kids, all about football. And until people realize here that you have to promote football with football, we're not going to get anywhere. That's why we were successful. Because we treated the football fan with respect and with the due respect that it deserves. That the football fan, and out of which there are 640 million that claim to be football fan in this country, deserves respect. Fans, all about fans. Pardon my French again, we screwed up on certain things. It's all on the media. We didn't give water. Yes, we misrepresented the water and the food on the first matches. Completely agree. Take full responsibility and full blame for it. But we tried to make it all about the fans. We kept on improving. 60 rupees, lowest ticket for individual matches. You can go and watch a World Cup final on 60 rupees. Why? We lost money on ticketing. But it generated an amount of goodwill that will generate you revenue eventually. Not today, not tomorrow, but on the long run. We looked at it on a strategic long run. And we had almost 26,000 people for a Youth World Cup. I was on the ground when we had 45,000 people for Japan, New Caledonia, under 17. Japan, New Caledonia. 45,000 people. It's 1/4 or 1/5 of the total population of New Caledonia. It is. It generated goodwill. More attended than the ICC Cricket World Cup 2011. And on the ICC Cricket World Cup, they cheated. And I'll tell you why they cheated. They had 4 hosts. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, effectively Pakistan, although matches were not played in Pakistan, but they were conveniently done in Mohali, and India. We had 1 host. And our 1 host, unfortunately, didn't progress into much larger stages of the tournament. But we made it all about football. And this is where I disagree. That we don't need heroes. We already have heroes. The fact of the matter is that you need to focus on football. And we made it all about kids. We engaged 11 million kids, school kids, through Mission 11 Million. And Mission 11 Million is the single largest legacy and contact program that has happened in India and that will happen for Indian football. We changed the perception of the game. I went to about 40, 50 seminars. Do you know that when you go to a seminar with 300, 400 school teachers, they don't know that you can play football here? That you just need a ball, and you just need 2 markers to make a ball. They think that football is 11v11. Nobody has ever told them that you can play football on a classroom. Nobody told them that you can play football in marshland, that you can play football on dirt roads. Nobody told them that we are benchmarking, or India is benchmarking themselves incorrectly, that India should never benchmark itself to Britain or to Germany. Never. That's complete nonsense. Because in England they have 40 million people or 50 million people with a lot of money for investment. Benchmark against us. Benchmarks towards Chile. Twice champion of Copa America. You know where Alexis Sanchez was brought up? He didn't have anything. So you need to Indianize conditions. and you need to understand what are the conditions in India to ensure that the game is going to develop. We're talking about and with this I'm going to end because I know we're running a little bit that late. We're talking about the footprint of football in the country. Mission 11 Million gave us a very good idea of the footprint of the country. The 4 states that we got most schools for Mission 11 Million. Anybody wild guesses? UP, Bihar, Telangana, Orissa. What do they have in common? Supposedly, no football culture. Supposedly. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday or the day before. Single best news that has happened to Indian football. UP government. Anybody saw the news of UP government? What happened in UP government? $1.85 crore children are going to play football in 160,000 schools. 1 crore 85 lakhs. Sorry, 1 crore 85 lakhs. 18.5 million children. Why? Because we were working with them for a whole year. Tell them, listen, what is cheaper than play football? You don't have resources. You're resource-starved. You cannot keep buying bats. Took out my socks. I made a ball. There you go, you play football. And now UP government is going to make a serious investment into making football the sport of choice of UP. Reasons may be very political. I'm very selfish. I don't care. That's when football is going to keep on changing in this country. Yes, we're all happy about the Under-17 World Cup. Came and go, 23 days. England was champion. Okay, you'll be able to see, oh, I saw Phil Foden when he's world champion with England. Yeah, it happened. 11 million, that was the real game changer, because now we're going to all the other state governments. We're telling Telangana, oh, UP said 18.5 million. What about you? Maharashtra had a beautiful Mission 1 million, where they gave 1 lakh footballs, particularly on rural areas. So when they go to Kolhapur and when they go to Nagpur, usually not football hotbeds. Kolhapur, yes. Identifying those spaces and keeping it on football, respecting the players and the fans, that's what's going to drive change, and that's what's going to drive improvement for football in this country. Thank you so much.